Hello, this is your host Akhil Navluri, and welcome to the brand new episode of the Techo Space podcast series. In this podcast episode, I'm having the huge pleasure of welcoming one of the most reputed guests from London, United Kingdom, and she happens to be the senior business analyst of the Big Four company, and also a business analyst who was working for CHR Hansen a few years ago. So, welcoming Miss Polina Gritsay, and Polina, it gives me an absolute pleasure to welcome you to this podcast episode of mine. So, Paulina, how are you doing, and how's the Christmas vibe, in London at the moment?
Hi. This was an honorary introduction. I don't think I've ever been introduced this way. So, and the pleasure is all mine. Vibes in London. I'm actually doing a Christmas Secret Santa later this afternoon with my colleagues. So
Okay.
I am thrilled because for the first time, I actually don't know who is giving me the present. So I'm very, very excited to see whoever and whatever I'm gonna get. So yeah, Christmas is going. I think it's picking up.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's a good, let's say a good holiday spirit then. And I mean,
Mm,
coincidentally, I was just asking about Christmas, and you just told me like, you're playing the Secret Santa, and I'm like, okay.
yeah.
The thing is, the conversation is twining here.
Do you not do Secret Santa?
I do. I do. I mean,
Okay, there
in
you
my
go.
family also one of the person has done that, but not so, so passionately what people do in
Mm,
London and across the
yeah.
world. In India, it's pretty less. So
Yeah. But I guess it's still nice to know that like celebration is happening elsewhere, like in here in London when you guys obviously have Diwali. We're like we still have some like festive lights, and we definitely know some people that are celebrating, and sometimes they also invite us over to their houses. And it's like obviously it's not my celebration, but it's still nice to participate, and just like kind of share these traditions with other people. So I think it's like bringing the world together, this is what we need.
yes. That is true. That is true. The world has to come together, and I'm really happy to know that Diwali is also being celebrated,
Mm,
in a very nice, diverse way. So
yeah,
love to
yeah,
hear that. So
definitely.
then, yes, I think so. Diwali and Christmas fine, I could say. If the conversation is put together.
Yeah, exactly. We're off to a good start. Listeners will be like,
Absolutely.
oh, we're going to learn about some tech, and we're just talking about Christmas and Diwali.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you get
All
what you
right.
get, right?
100%, 100%, very true on that. All right, so Paulina, without any further ado, let's kick off with our podcast session. All right, Paulina, so let's talk about the timeline of your journey, all the way from the field of law into the IT industry. So, how did that come about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's actually been a very, very unexpected journey, and not a very intentional one either. I started firmly in the world of law. I was studying for my LLB at Queen Mary University of London. I was in love with legal theory, jurisprudence, philosophy of law, and those were the only modules I've actually done for the first probably like 2 years. And I was playing at my strengths at the time because I was finding it's a fascinating experience. But after a few years, I was having questions about practicality of this subject. I guess
Yeah.
everyone does, right? Everyone does. And I was just looking how these like broader frameworks fits into like my everyday future corporate life, and I wasn't really finding the connection there. And so when people ask me questions like you just done, or you went from law, they get so surprised because, well, why you in a tech space? But I guess it's because there's an inherent bias that law is a field of completely unstructured data. The judgments
Mhm.
are in PDF, you need to read between the lines, but whereas tech is always perceived as very much, structured data, like, the code, everything, like everything is being understood by the machines. And so this is why probably people get confused. But I think legal theory and law more generally teaches you skills that you're just gonna need in whatever field you're gonna end up. They teach you how to break down complex problems, how to think systematically, and how to build your arguments. And essentially, when clients come to me, this is exactly what I'm doing. And I guess curiosity just leads you to explore different opportunities beyond traditional legal fields. And of course, um, this is how like you're being driven by your passions towards like kind of like broader spheres like technology, problem solving. And so that's how I ended up at McKinsey Solve a Challenge, which
Okay.
is very much like tech focused. And I guess it's like my first time when we were exploring the data, the process design. We were like trying to reshape an industry of how it has been run. We kind of was the first time when we were introduced how to think, but not just think, but think strategically. And I guess I really, really enjoyed that experience. And after that, I moved to Christian Hansen as a business analyst, and it was like a real life experience of
Okay.
what the data can do. It's like when you join your first like proper job and you get
Yeah,
this exposure, you're
of
just like,
course.
oh wow, this is insane. And so I really enjoyed it there. Um, the data that we were working with has been very interesting. We had clear analysis, structure thinking, a lot of decision making that I was involved in. And then after the experience, I kind of reflected that actually it felt very natural to me. I wasn't pushing myself out of the comfort zone, which probably sounds bad, but I really enjoyed that. I don't know. What do you take on it? Do you think we should always be outside of our comfort zone?
We should.
No,
We
we
definitely should.
should.
Yeah.
No, I really enjoyed that. I was like, oh, this is very natural, like I'm kind of getting the hang of it. And so after I graduated, I pursued less of a traditional legal pathway. I pivoted into tech side of finance and tax. So joining the big four, starting as an intern, and then grow into a senior analyst, as you mentioned. And I guess that's where my transition has, started with the data. But I think even to this day, if we look back at my journey, I'm very much sticking to the principles of being in the intersection of several fields. And I think still like this is so important right now because the world is so multifaceted. It's just a great place to be if you combine different things. And so
Exactly.
nowadays yeah, exactly, right. And nowadays I constantly find myself asking questions like, how do we make this more efficient? What can we automate?
Yeah.
Is this the right data architecture? And I think the curiosity still pushes me deeper into technology. And hopefully one day I can do like a full tech project all by myself from automation start to finish. Not quite there yet, but we're working on it. And what's interesting I want to add is that my legal foundation has never really disappeared. It's just transformed. My legal background taught me structure, precision, risk awareness, ability to translate complexity into clarity. But those skills I'm still using, and they're so valuable in technology, especially at digital transformation projects, where you need someone that understands processes and also understands the challenges and the assumption and also able to manage the stakeholders that involved in the process. So yeah, I think it was a very good experience. So that's how I went from law to finance. So law kind of like the way I think about it is law taught me how to think, whereas finance taught me how business operates, and then technology is just where it all kind of came into the intersection for me.
That's a fantastic timeline, Paulina. Now, heading on to that one particular point where you just
Mm,
mentioned that you actually ventured into IT with respect to CHR Hansen, in that company. So when did
mhm.
you get that awakening that you're in the right place? Exactly like after how many days when you joined the company?
Oh, I don't think I ever had that awareness. I gave you one good point. We were preparing for a big conference then with my team. And so we flew all the way to Istanbul to present. And I was feeling so proud because I was like for the first time on this corporate plane, I was like, hey, like carrying my suit in this like weird sort of whatever they give you, like this jacket thingy. And so while we were in the plane, while we were presenting, I was like very stressed and I was very conscious that I am presenting to people so much more senior than I am myself. And I was nervous. I was stressed and I was almost looking for validation, but I don't think there was anyone in the team of like my level to give me that like, yeah, you're doing okay. Like the people that I was working with were like global head of offices, they were like CFOs of like certain distributors. So like I wasn't really working with anyone junior at the time. And so then, after the meeting has finished and I had to go back to London to finish some of my exams, I got a correspondence from the main client that we were presenting that I've never really spoken to, saying to the person that I did a really good job. and they were saying like, oh, like Polina presented really well. Like we really like the stats, we really like how it comes together. Like we have so much to think about. We have like so much to take away. And I feel like at this moment, I was already in London. I was like, "Hmm, I feel like I'm doing a good job, you know." I feel
Right.
maybe your question was more like, oh, did you feel it from the first date? No. Like throughout my time, I was just feeling like I'm just struggling because I was like, oh, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Is this good
Yeah. Yeah.
enough?
Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
the end, I think it was all good.
Fantastic. I think, you found your ground and, you started enjoying your work. And that is actually
Mm,
important, when you start out in the IT industry. That's pretty much good, Paulina. Now, Paulina, can you talk about, your passion of, let's say, reaching out the intersection, let's say talking about the intersection of tax, consulting and technology that is, pertaining to your line of work, let's say, tax, analytics technology. So how would you like to, frame that together?
mm. Yeah, that's a hard question. But I feel like my career path is a bit of like a winding road rather than the straight line. I think through different experiences that I had, like debate clubs, student consulting projects, I've discovered so much how much I enjoyed working with people, but also solving problem practicalities, seeing impact of the work directly. And I think that is something that pushed me towards more of a consulting role, which is like closer to what I'm doing right now. And I think there was like one moment, if I may recall, it was like one of the student consultancy projects that I've been involved with back in university. And I've been sitting there with my team, and I've just like watched how the room slowly grew and grew and being covered with all these different colored post-it notes. And I was like, wow, I am really enjoying the problem solving process we've got
Yeah.
going on here. And I think it was very interesting to see how the brainstorm and engaging with data. And I think just like came to life for the first time then. And like I think it was the first time when I started thinking like how businesses operate, what do they do, where's the data, how they get it, like is it enough? So I think that's the intersection, I guess. But then for studying law, even though I was like in a world that was basically mostly words, I was always interested in like how like my iPad is being run, or like I would like look at these small videos about Python to just see that it can make things faster. I would like look at how like one of the queries is being written, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. I never actually understood them at a time, but I guess it was just like a small interest of mine that I just kind of remained with me, and that's why when I look at the tax technology consulting where I am right now, everything just kind of like slowly clicked. You interact with different technologies where I am, um, and it makes you think like, oh, technology does make it like a lot easier. And also, the truth is, the client nature facing work is just something another reason why I love it so much, and it's something that fits me really well. I'm like a very much people's person. I genuinely enjoy talking to people, asking questions, understanding how they think. And again, like all of us do, every client has their own style, their own priorities, their own ways of working. And where I am and where I have been before, you meet people from tax directors with like encyclopedic knowledge about what it is they do. You also meet CFOs that understand the whole market across different regions, across different countries, controllers that are like in every detail and they know every single bit of stat. And you just learn so much by being around these people and spending time with them. And I
Yeah.
think you get to build these relationships with these incredible smart people, which I think you do so much on this podcast. And you meet people and they're so interesting, and you just kind of like one of the things, you can never stop talking, and it's
Yeah.
just it's so great. And again, we wouldn't be a tech podcast if we didn't mention AI, but AI
Yes. That
evolving,
is the thing.
s-
Yeah.
right, it's a topic we need to talk
Mhm.
about it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's evolving so fast, and I feel like where I am right now, I am involved, and maybe you feel the same way. I'm involved in this huge and exciting game, which is called "Where Will This Land in a Business?" And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is like, will AI help with data extraction? What about risk profiling? Is it going to be predictive analytics? Is it going to be workflow automation? Is it going to be full text is going to be automated? And no one exactly knows when. And I think this is what makes this moment so exciting. The rules haven't been written yet. And in the UK, where there's so much historical uh, connotations to everything, getting into the field where there's just not as much, well, not necessarily regulation, but not as much has been done is so exciting. We get to experiment, collaborate, and just figure out what kind of the future is going to look like. And I really enjoy being in the middle of these conversations, and I hope you do too. And I hope
100%
that
I
I
do.
can,
Yeah.
yeah, right? It's so exciting because it's just something you do that never has been done before. And I guess, like, to say that my career before and like the different fields that I've been at is a really good combination to help me to be at this intersection of fields because it's not easy because you need to know so much about so many different things. But yeah, I think this is my passion. People, tax, a bit of tech. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's a pretty insightful point, Polina. Now,
Yeah.
Polina, on behalf of my listeners, they would definitely have this question like, what is exactly tax consulting? So, in simple words, how would you like to, explain that?
Yeah, there are obviously different firms mean different things. But I think tax technology consulting as a field aims at trying to digitalize tax. So if I had to say it in one sentence, that would it be. But essentially, we see large companies having more and more legal requirements um, that make it necessary for them to report tax in basically online kind of format. And in order for them to do so, they are no longer able to work in the ways they have done before, whether that was manual or whether that was done in more simple software. And so a lot of the time, what I'm doing is um, talking with clients what technology would they need. I am exploring the opportunities for automation. I'm exploring how that would influence their business, what our solutions could be right and wrong for them, how they can be implemented. So I think a lot of tax technology consulting is about that, is about trying to help your client to navigate the ever-changing landscape of tax and kind of make sure they feel like you are in their team
Yeah.
and you're there to help and support them.
Okay. That actually, strikes a chord with me. And yeah, that explains the complete point to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Paulina, now tell me about this. Like, what is that focus of yours, on leveraging, these digital transformations and also talking about, the tax analytics that is completely, driving these business outcomes. So,
Yeah,
what's your
yeah,
say
yeah.
on that?
I feel like leveraging data transformation is like the key in this phrase because when people ask me why I'm so focused on that, especially in the tax field, I always come back with one simple idea, and that is tax has been written since dawn of civilization and
Yes.
shall remain with us
Yeah.
until the end of time.
That is a right
But
point. Yeah.
how we handle it always going to keep evolving.
Yeah.
And I think this is exactly what makes it such an exciting place to be. I still remember, and I'm going to have a question for you now. I still remember my first work experience, and at the start of university, so many years ago, I've been asked to call an IRS, which is basically US equivalent HMRC here in the UK, to give a total tax number. And it was my first time when I ever had to like go and pick up a proper phone, like the button one. Like I would have to click buttons in order to phone someone. And at that moment, I remember thinking, by the time I'm in like full swing of my full-time employment, this process is going to be completely different. And my question to you
Mhm.
is, do
Yeah.
you think my prediction came back as true or false?
I think it came back as true. I think
Yeah,
that's my complete say on it. Yes.
right? Because it's so easy, like it's so easy to spot these opportunities when you're like, well, I don't use. button phone in my daily life. So why the companies are not going to be progressing the same way? And it was like such an easy thing. But
Yeah.
in a sense, it's been true and false too. Like we moved to invoicing, digital reporting, significantly more structured data requirements. But again, these topics have been in discussions for years. And when I was dialing the phone, people were talking for years at that point still about that. So, uh, but right now, because there's just more heavy regulation, it's starting to feel a lot more real than it has maybe been like 10 years ago. Um, and I think if you will allow me a frivolity, Pillar 2, a bit of a tax nerdiness here, please.
Yep.
Pillar 2
Surely.
for the background is a global minimum tax framework that ensures large corporations pay at least some sort of percentage of tax. So it tends to be ETR around 15. And that's kind of in various jurisdictions, every jurisdiction where they operate. So that basically means there are no tax havens anymore, or like not the same way how it used to be. And I think it's exactly these types of challenges that makes my work deeply meaningful and deeply impactful, and would not be possible without the digital leveraging. Because on one hand, there is a massive global shift policies, but on the other hand, the practicalities of it and the burden that it places on the companies are massive. And I remember back to my experience in Christian Hansen. I think like I was maybe a couple months into my employment, and I was given this Excel that was tracking some of the KPIs. And I remember opening it, and it looked like nothing that Excel that I was used to. And I got so scared because I thought, oh my God, I corrupted the file, I broke it down. What did I do? How did I fix it? What if it's not like I didn't take the copy? I just opened it from email. I was like, oh my God, I'm horrible. But it just ended up that that version was built in Excel 2003, so the previous version. And I think that moment, even though I don't think I'm ever going to have this experience ever again, but I think that moment captures the challenges perfectly. It's not tax, but
Okay.
it's businesses overall that's kind of struggling with like this digital world, because the foundations that they have sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, can be outdated somewhat. And so the impact for someone, hopefully like me, who understands both the technical side but also like the transformation side, are very, very massive. And that makes you feel like you can actually help clients. Because when you think about Pillar 2, if I just continue from that, is you have requirements of like 100, maybe 1,000 different data points, just depending on like the company size. And of course, I understand why businesses feel that that's an overkill. They are organization profit focused people that care about running their business, about what they do, about scaling, about selling and building products. They don't necessarily want to think about how many data points they need for tax. They just want the tax number to be right, right? It's very
Yep.
simple. That's like one line. We want it to be right. We want to do justice by the people in the country we live in, and that's it. But for someone who understands tax and also knows about the data pipelines and how to integrate the systems, you can build a process that's a lot less manual and a lot less burdensome on the company. So you don't have to go, for instance, to HR, to finance, to find the different like national insurance numbers. It's kind of all in the same place. And there are a lot of there is a great it's not a journalist, but there is a great company. It's called Tax Systems. They write loads and they have an amazing podcast, which I just hopefully one day we're going to be invited to that podcast, and they're going
Yes,
to
yes.
talk about,
Manifest
and
that.
they go, yeah, manifesting tax systems, if you hear me. um they have written an article that I read ages ago, and I think what they argued was that Pillar 2 is not so much of the burden, but it is also something that allows you to have transparency that you've never had before. And subsequently, if you build the system right, you gain more than simple compliance. You also turn that into the source of um, information, like information or insight for the company. So that helps you to make decisions, to make better decisions. So
Right.
if you know more risk adverse or something like that, you're more able to know where it's going to hit you in the future, and so you're able to kind of um know if this is what's going to happen in the future, then what my operational inefficiencies, and can I, well, not necessarily move them elsewhere, but can I plan for them, can I predict them? So it's much less of a, you know, retrospective activity that it has been before, and much more planning activity, which I think is a massive shift for a company. And this is why I think the impact that we can make with digital is incredible.
That's amazing, Paulina. That's pretty much insightful. Now, on a cheeky note, I would just like to ask you, since you told me that
Yeah,
tax has been evolved since the dawn of the civilization. So before
yeah.
you ventured into the the tax kind of that tax analytics role, did you read about the history of tax by any chance?
I was really afraid right now that you're gonna ask me, do I know what is the year that they introduced tax? And I was like, no, I don't. But I've studied loads of history back at home, and one of the chapters we had is that uh, if the land was occupied, you had to give like part of your grain or whatever things that you were collecting from the
Yeah, yeah.
ground to the government, and essentially that's how the government used to be run, and that's how they had enough food and were able to supply and defend the armies. Um, so I guess that was the start of tax. I don't know, maybe there was something else.
I
Do
think
you
that
know?
was your groundwork, for understanding the literal meaning of tax.
Yeah, I think back in the day was a bit simpler, right? But we've grown in complexity, as I said, but we've been
It's
doing
not
it for years.
it's not going to be simple anytime. Now, as the technology increases, things are going to be much more complex. And for them, I'll tell you something, a very simple thing. Back then when, they started trading and, started dealing tax in the form of grains, I think for them, for that mentality, that was also complexity. I was like, why do we give grains, to the government and, do that?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also, I'm pretty sure it was really hard to calculate it because right now, right, we're like, oh, what is this R&D adjustment going to be, right? And that's like one level of complexity, but what they were looking at is like we have no ways of measuring it. We don't know the quality of this grain. We don't know if it's about to expire in 2 months. Should we give them the old grain or should we give them the new grain? Does the
Yeah.
grain cost equal to like cost of some meat that we have produced? Anyways, I'm pretty sure that they had to deal with challenges that maybe we still would be able to solve by data, but data didn't exist back then, right? So
Not
there
at
wasn't
all.
yeah, it was like much simpler, but yeah. And then they started like writing everything down, they started having scripts, and that's where
Yeah,
we are now within Excel. That's
of
quick
course, of
evolution,
course.
basically. Grain, Excel, this
Of
this
course,
is
right?
it.
That's a beautiful point. I should note it down somewhere. Grain to Excel.
Yeah.
That's a
Oh.
really a very noted point for sure. So yeah, Paulina,
Mhm.
now heading on to this, like, would you like to give a spotlight, into being the winner for the the Solve It program, winner program for the year 2023, and also would you like to talk about that that Women in Tech initiative, for your current company, that you're part of?
Yeah, of course. Being part of Solve It program as a winner, I am so proud of it. Not just because, not just personally, but because I think at the time, um, I never knew tech world as much as I did after that. I never knew tech operations as I did after that. But also because I think that what we were doing have been hopefully, um, allow me to say this has changed the world. A bit less cynically, but essentially what we did at a Solve It program is McKinsey allowed us an opportunity to work with some refugee charities here in the UK. And what we were focusing as part of operation of the charity is the education of young people. Um, Essentially, we all understand how important technology is, and we've been going on about it. So I shall not emphasize that point any further. But the ability of some kids that might not be in circumstances as fortunate as some others, unfortunately, also influencing how much education they can possibly get and the quality of that education. And by all means, I think looking and going to a library and listening to a book is absolutely amazing. And I think we should all do it more often. However, I think there is access to information that has not been possible before and is still unfortunately not possible if you do not have the right hardware, quite literally, i.e., a computer, access to like laptop library. And unfortunately, in some of the refugees places or like camps, they obviously don't have it like many other things. And so, what we were trying to understand is what is the impact of having a laptop when you do go through your education, and what impact of you not having a laptop, and obviously massive. But also, how can we get these laptops to these people, because obviously it's a refugee charity, it's not like they can afford to buy this, and their problem is a lot more complex that can be thought. But I think the overall solution, which I'm not saying it's exactly how they implemented it, but I think the gist of the solution was that we were partnered with some other charities to help to provide some of the upcycled laptops. And um, there are different strategies, which I don't think I'm allowed to disclose, that we came up with that
Yeah, yeah.
can possibly synthesize that. But I think as an experience, it's been very interesting to understand that you kind of solving a very much real time, real challenge that affects real people. A lot of the time, obviously, tax is important, and I think it's important in many ways more than just getting the number right. It's essentially what feeds the government, but it's not as it's not as direct, kind of like you don't see that correlation straightforwardly, whereas here it was very, very clear for us. And so I am very proud that I was part of it, that um, the solutions that we have created has helped the businesses in whichever way they have been implemented. And I am very also proud of the people that have started this program, this charity, and have been like going on with it, because it's not easy. I'm sure it's not easy.
Not at all.
So that's on Solve It. On Women in Tech, I think it's been a brilliant experience, because I think it was done also at the very start of my university career. And I think it was aimed at democratizing the technology space for women. So we were discovering how metaverse was able to level a playing field for women in businesses. It's been good experience to understand that the correlation and the cause and causation between repre the amount of representation you get in higher levels of businesses in women is unfortunately much lower than the ones that enter in the workforce. So according to different studies, um, that hopefully one day I'm going to be able to remember, but essentially the idea of some authors arguing is that women that enter the workforce about 50-50 equal between men, whereas once they get to a more senior leadership positions, they decreased to about 2010, depending on the organization. And the reason being for that is obviously A, education. However, I don't know how much I agree with that point if we all enter in the workforce at the same time, but something that happens during the process while you're in the company seems to influence those decisions that women make. And so that idea of the metaverse that we've been working on has been focused on how can we get more people, how can get more women involved, and how can we level the playing field for them at different industries and different points of their life, be that in big corporation or be that in starting their own small businesses, how we can make the challenges that they're facing less burdensome and more feeling like it is equal opportunity world, which we hopefully trying to aim for. And
Right.
it's been very fun. I've not had a chance to work with Metaverse before that experience. It was great. It was amazing. I hope that the right now, looking back of the development of all, like, Google glasses, Meta glasses, whatever else, I think this technology
Mhm.
is bringing that idea kind of closer, maybe in a different format than it was like back however many years ago it was now. Um, but I think it's very interesting to see if the ideas that we've been coming up then with can actually be used or will be used. So it's like one of these exercises that we've done before. You remember when I said to you, "Oh, do you think my prediction was right?" So I think
Yeah.
maybe in a few more years, I'm going to be able to bring up this story and be like, I was right or I was wrong, or like we thought that it's never going to get to this point where it did right now. So yeah, it's been very, very interesting experience. I loved it. And if I may, I do hope that once you're in university and even once you are in your professional career, especially at the start of it, you keep seeking out these opportunities and options that might not necessarily be directly related to what you do. Because ever since then, I've never worked with metaverse, maybe in my dreams, but not quite yet.
Yeah.
I've just never had a chance to work with that technology. But I think that if you keep exploring, if you keep going to like different conferences and events and trying to like maybe do some competitions, it's really helpful for you to kind of see direction of like where the world goes. And it also gives a lot of inspiration, um that like tech is the future. So yeah.
That's really an interesting point, and I'm really, really, like I was totally like blown by the collaboration that you had with Metaverse, and
Mm.
I was like, wow, that's something to hear, and it's really interesting. Now, heading on to this, Apollina, like, can you give me an insight, into being a lead mentor? I mean, into being a lead judge and a mentor at DebateMate. Before I ask you further question on that, I wanted to
Hmm.
understand DebateMate. Does that come from a word, was this, started by an Australian? Because in Australia, we say for a person or let's say a friend as mate. So did that name come from there?
Ah. That's a very good question. I actually do not know of the history of the company. I'm very sorry. But mate is also used here in the UK quite widely. Like you can also say like, "Hey mate, how are you?" I don't think I ever used this to be honest, other than in a sense of debate mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good point. I should research that after this. Takeaway for me. But DebateNet essentially in the UK is also like partial charity organization, and what they do is they do debating clubs for young people in maybe again less privileged environments. But I think their motto is that if you're able to speak up and if you're able to be confident in what you have to say and understand how to voice your opinions, you will go much further in life. And to be exact, I think I had an amazing time. My teams have been brilliant. I started as a mentor, then I become lead mentor, judge, lead judge. So it's been an amazing opportunity. I've grown loads within the company. I also think I've met very interesting people within the company too. And I think the work that we have been doing has been very interesting and very impactful again. I know that like some of the schools I've been teaching at are just not too far away from where like I used to live. And I used to be able to see kids leave in primary school, go into the secondary school, and then seeing them at different competitions, still doing debate mate, and coming to me as like one of like mentors, as one of the judges, being like, "Oh, do you think we did better in this team than we did it last team? Oh, what do you think we should improve?" And I think it's very sweet to see these like little people being like really eager to develop, because like not all the time I think they have these opportunities. So I was really glad to be part of their development. But in terms of that being a development point for me too, it's like, there's always two sides to the coin. Well, especially when I was judging, in my first experience, I never understood how much power my words have. I remember the first time then I had to like break the news that like obviously it's a debate. There's always a winning team, there's always a losing team. There's never a draw. Like you can never be
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
oh, no one won. And so you always have to give bad and good news at the same time. And I remember looking at these like little girl's eyes, little boy's eyes, and like I still had to say it like, "I'm sorry, but like you can improve on this and then do better next time and win next time." But it's still like bad news to them, and like they tried really hard. So I think what I've learned, that how careful you need to be with your words, how much structure and clarity what you say needs to present in order to be able not to confuse your listener, especially if they're already in the emotional state of like, they may be a bit sad, a bit
Yeah.
excited, you never know. So there is a lot of fairness, also the judgments that it's involved, because you kind of need to understand like, oh, when the person starts speaking, you can clearly see that they're much more advanced than a lot of their peers. But that also means like I can't just score them the highest of the group. I would score
Yeah.
him up to like the extent of his ability. So there is a lot of judgment involved. And although we obviously had like criterias and like help sheets to help us do that, it like there is some judgments calls that you make, and I think that's been very, very helpful, because when you work in tech, you meet a lot of clients that probably never written a single line of code in their life, and they're not going to. And that is why they need us. And it's very important to be able to calm down, and instead of just, shoving them the solution you think are right, you need to sit down, explain, see the problem through their eyes, understand that there are also challenges they are navigating, they are dealing with whatever they have going on inside of their company. And you need to be able to clearly evaluate right in front of them, like pros and cons of every solution, even, and you still might need to do that, even if the person right in front of you is more than able to do it themselves, because they are very much of the tax person. So it's been a very good experience. I hope to say that it's made an impact on the world, and
Okay.
maybe a different one than I've had before. But I had a very interesting experience, and it definitely made me think differently about some things I say to people and how I present myself. So yeah, the words have power as a takeaway. Do
Right.
use them wisely.
Fantastic. So, being part of this, let's say debate mate program, did you
Mhm.
see that, there is any intersection of IT and law by any chance? Like, did you have I mean, a view on that?
Yeah, I think law is a great I, law is amazing, and I think more people should study law, because what law teaches you is how to gain this clarity in written word. And once you are able to master what written word has to offer, and obviously with ChatGPT right now, it doesn't sound as profound as it used to before, right? You kind of like, well, I can
Yeah.
write bad sentences and ChatGPT is going to fix it, which is, in essence true, but I still think you think through things in different way if you've written them down as opposed to if you've spoken them out. And I think in law, I was writing down loads and not speaking much. Whereas in debate mate, I was speaking loads and not writing down much. And I think that
Okay.
great intersection of the two was very
Yeah.
helpful. But I also think
Fine.
it helped me
Mm.
realize for the first time I am that person. Like there are different type of thinkers, and do let me know which one you are. But I am the person that I can speak at you for like 5 minutes, and then you'll have a solution. So if you ask me a question, I can think about it on the spot and give you the answer. Whereas there are some other people that are much more like you ask them the question, they need to go away, think, write something down, maybe draw a diagram, maybe do something else, and then they come back to you with a question, to with an
Right.
answer. I've never been like that, but I think because law degree has always forced me to have the question and write it down, I actually appreciated how much I'm the opposite and debate mate, because like it was
Yeah.
so much easier. But yeah, that's the intersection, I think. But in terms of like fairness, yeah, sure, a judge should be fair in any sort of competition, but that's just
100%. That has to
very
be the
minimal.
case. And answering your question, Paulina, which you just posed to me.
No, yeah.
So, I mean, I am this latter person, but again, it depends on the type
Hmm.
of question that I've been asked. Suppose if it's a technical question, then yes, I will take, my time and I'll be like, okay, I need some time and I need to go to the drawing board and I need to visualize what is that question about. But
Yeah.
suppose if it's a normal question, then I think I'll go with the former, which you said,
Mm,
you relate to. So that's my take on
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Mix is also fine, right? It's probably better to have a mix.
Yeah, yeah. That is true. And again, since you told that, when you were in law, you used to I mean, you used to note down a lot and you used to speak less.
Mm,
But I think,
mm,
that experience helped you out in debate mate and you started getting that spontaneity and immediately, that problem solving skills helped you out. And
yeah.
IT also played a very vital role, in this particular journey of yours.
Yeah, 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 definitely. And I do agree with you when you mentioned that, like, there are some points that I've definitely learned at my job to be like, I don't think we can solve it on this call. Let me take it offline. And I think
Yeah.
maybe at the start of my career, I wasn't using this enough, whereas right now, I feel a lot more confident in like maybe not necessarily pushing back, but being like, whatever I say, I want to stand by my word. And in order for me to do that, I need to evaluate and find all the corner cases instead of just like,
Yeah.
whatever you. We're not gonna give it the word. Whoever is watching on YouTube, guys, you could see me gesturing.
Yeah, yeah, I get the point. I mean, that actually explains, what exactly is the answer for it.
Yeah.
All right. That's amazing now. Now, Paulina, I'm just pretty keen to ask you this. Like, what were your roles and responsibilities, of being a business analyst, for a company called CHR Hansen a few years ago? Like, what was, with
Mhm.
that? Can you give me an insight into it?
Yeah, of course. I think it was a brilliant experience because essentially what I was asked to do is I was collating information between different offices. So, of course, first thing you think, business travel. And that's what I was thinking at the time when I accepted the position. And that's exactly what it was. So, I was asked to create a relationship with different distributors. So, Christian Hansen, the way it was operating back where I'm from in Russia is via different distributors channel. And these people were obviously talking to each other, but perhaps not enough to show the situation to a wider stakeholder group back to the headquarters where in Denmark. So I was kind of the middle person trying to collect the information from different from all of them and trying to come up with a solution or even with like a PowerPoint presentation for the wider stakeholders. And I think the crazy thing that I got to find out that is not so surprising to me, but I guess people get surprised is that how different like different parts of Russia are. For
Okay.
instance, in the
Mhm.
south of Russia, because there are loads of mountains, people used to make a lot of soft cheeses because they wouldn't need to store them as like it was really hot, but it was really easy to
Mm.
make. So you can make it in the morning, eat in the evening, you done. There's like kind of like moving on. Whereas
Yeah.
obviously in the north, where it's much colder, you were able to store things for longer, which also meant that people there tend to prefer like hard or maybe mature cheeses. And different products also, like here in the south where I'm from, we used to have something called ayran, which is very similar to what they have in Turkey.
In Turkey. Yeah.
Whereas whereas what they have in the north is more like Снежок, for instance. So it's uh, like a more condensed sour cream, and like a little bit sweeter. So it's like a drink that you have. So it just these differences, although they are apparent to someone who is within the country and looking at the data, they are not as apparent to like an outsider. And it takes a lot of practice to be able to understand and highlight that. And it also takes a lot of um, knowledge to be able to explain it and to convince, for instance, that something that is being produced in Denmark or all over Europe, instead of it producing enzymes, which are the cultures that kind of help you go from like milk to any sort of dairy products, instead of them being put in two different bags, they need to be put in the same bag. That sounds to us like, oh, this is so logical. Why not we change the business operation? Whereas for them, that's a very costly endeavor. And so you need to make your business case very, very clear. You need to explain it to them, not just the words, with stats, with testimonies, with everything else that you can give them. And you kind of need to supply that information there. And that's essentially what my role was. Um, I don't think at
Okay.
the time I appreciated like how significant that what I was doing was, how much of the business, like there are different deals that have been decided at the time, how much they would have actually meant. Like I could visualize in terms of the numbers and the graphs, but
Yeah.
it's still very different to like ability to feel it. And I think there are a lot of products that we're interacting day to day with that also have massive operations going on. And I think like my favorite one, every single time I pick up like a bottle of milk or like cheese or
Mm.
anything else you eat that probably has so much that goes into it, not just the transportation, not just the packaging, but actually within the product that like you're eating itself. And you interact with this on daily and you just never know. And you just
Okay.
never know. And I was really glad to be a part of this very small, very niche maybe at a time, but still a community. So yeah, it was really nice.
That's pretty interesting to understand this. Like you gave the examples of Denmark and then Russia. So what was this
Mhm.
collaboration between Russia and Denmark, and which sector were you actually working with when it came to the business?
So I don't think there was like a collaboration necessarily between Denmark and Russia. The Denmark just had the headquarters, and then they had distributed channels all over the world. So think US, Turkey, Africa, all over Europe. So it's less of a collaboration. It's more like one of the distributors' points.
Okay.
That was back in Russia in the day before some political events have taken place. And
Mm,
so I think that's to answer your first question. I think it was really hard to get that company into Russia in the first place. I was never involved in this process, it was like much before my time.
mm,
But Russia has always been perceived as a very challenging market for international companies
mm.
because, well, it's different jurisdictions, there are different rules, it's massive, different laws. Um, Different habits, different culture. So for some reason, a lot of like international companies have been finding it hard to integrate into there. But I think Christian Hansen did an amazing job at the market. They made a massive impact on the daily life of the consumer, and it has been felt once they decided to change the way their business is structured and operates. Um, so yeah, I think that and how I ended up there, I just kind of got there through knowing people, really.
Right.
And I was like, loads of business travel, let's go. That sounds fun. Because I
Yep.
knew people in Russia that kind of needed someone to liaise. So that was me.
All right. So I mean, you also have a origin of Russia, right? So which part of Russia do you
Yeah.
come from?
I am from the very south, so I come from somewhere called Kafkaus Mountains.
Okay.
That is very, very south. It's not too far from the Black Sea, from Sochi, where the World Championship was, the Football Cup
Yeah.
too, in
Yep.
2014. No, not 14.
2018. 18.
2018. Yeah, that's right. It's a great place, very sunny, very warm. I think it's like about 20 degrees there right now, as opposed to like maybe 5 or 7 here in the UK. Uh, I genuinely, even though I've been here in the UK for far too long that I imagined my first time when I arrived here, my first time, I still I still recommend people to try and give a chance to go to Russia and more broadly like Eastern Europe. It's very different from Europe broadly. It's very different from East, where you could go, like maybe China. But it's an incredible experience. Russian people tend to be very nice. I had an experience where I was back at home and I was just on the phone with someone from here in the UK, and my brain just didn't have enough time to switch, and so I just ordered a coffee accidentally in English. And the person who was taking my order, bless her, she thought that this is her opportunity of life, she and like honestly she stopped the whole shop, right? And she was like, oh, latte, yes, latte. And then I was like, oh, could I have it with a caramel syrup, please? And then she was like, and then, like, she waited, and then she's like, caramel, we have caramel. And then she started picking up different bottles of like different syrups and like naming, like just reading whatever like the English word was on it. And it was like, and once she started doing that, I was like, what's going on? And then I realized that I'm speaking a different language, but I had no heart. I could not go back. So I just carried on. I was like, oh, this one, please. And then she made me a coffee, and then I could see her googling, like I could see her translating before she gave me a coffee, because she listened to it, and then she like spoke to like a other barista that was there, and then she said something like, oh, thanks for visiting us, please come again, like, or something like, enjoy your coffee, or like, like these simple phrases that she had to like translate
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like be welcoming. And I thought it just struck me how much people actually enjoy seeing other people experiencing your culture. And so yeah, it was so sweet, and massive shout out to that cafe I've been to. Great coffee.
Right, right. That's a very interesting anecdote, Paulina, for sure. Paulina, there's one thing I wanted to share. So my grandfather, like in the year 1965, he's been to Russia.
Mm,
On a, he was a scientist and he was like with USSR and India's pact. So he was one of those
yeah.
people who traveled to Russia and he learned Russian beforehand. So yeah, He
Oh,
learned Russian before.
did he tell you like anything about his travel? Did
He told me
not much?
many things, many things he loved. I mean, there were many photos we have that, he's traveled to the main places in Moscow. He's traveled to, different parts of the USSR. He's traveled to Latvia as well. And I'm like, wow, so that is like the OG travel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very, very interesting to visit. I honestly, if you have a chance, do go. Like, it's an incredible place that like every place let me put it this way, every place in the world is completely unique, and I think if we have an opportunity to discover the world and see what the world has to offer, we should take that opportunity, and we should try to avoid
Yes.
being subdued by the judgments of others or some of the things that
Yeah, yeah.
we hear, and we should try to keep an open mind and be open about what the world has to offer in different places. And I think with that motive, you should travel to Russia.
I will love to because, I'll tell you something. Now it is visa free for Indians, to go to Russia.
Yeah, amazing. Go. Maybe
Yeah.
don't go in the winter because it's a little bit cold, but if
Yeah,
you go in the
that's
summer, you will feel very comfortable. Like it's quite warm, like in most of the places.
Yeah, I think that could be a great opportunity. And yes, I'm really looking forward to, visiting Russia someday soon, in the future. So yeah, Paulina, before we, actually come to a close with our podcast session, let's take a lighter route. All this while I was totally bombarding, with the questions of law, intersection of, tax analytics, about your journey and, your business analyst stint with CHR Hansen. Now I'm going to take a lighter route in the form of a very quick rapid fire round. So are you ready with the first question of the rapid fire round, Paulina?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, then perfect. So, Polina, since you come from Russia and you're based in UK, so I'm pretty much keen to understand, like, do you have any favorite sports team that you support?
Yes, there is actually a sport team in my town that's called the Krasnodar football team. I think they
Okay.
just made it into like one of the cup finals or something like that. And there has been like massive celebration all over town. Like people you like put all their flags and drove
Yeah,
in
yeah.
cars shouting at the stadium. There is a very interesting reason how that team came around. I'm not going to delve into it, but yeah, love that team. I think
Okay.
it's great.
That's amazing, Polina. Now, Polina, since I come from India, and I'm pretty much keen to ask you this, like, what is your favorite Indian food that you always like to try?
Yeah, there is a place not so far from where I live, and they serve like this Indian, I don't think it's a curry, but it's like chicken and it has like a coconut sauce in it. So it's like a
Hmm.
bit of and they serve it with lime too.
Mhm.
So I don't know what it's called because I just go and
It's
I
called
know
butter
it's a
chicken.
second. Oh, maybe it's that one because I know it's a second on the menu. So I just go and I just like I want this one, please.
I think that's
And
comfort
then
food
I
for
go.
you then.
Yes, 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 yes. And I feel like I tried a few things, but like a lot of them were so spicy. But the person that works there, I think they
Yeah.
already know that I only order like one or two things. So they're like, "Oh, is it gonna be this one today?" And I'm like, "Yes, please."
Okay, that's a good preference. I would totally, appreciate that.
Mm.
Now, Paulina, since I mean, what is that go-to street food that people should try when they visit your hometown in Russia?
It's true. We have something called shawarma, which is a bit different than kebab that you get here. I think it's very nutritious. It has a lot more veggies because obviously south of the agriculture is good. It has a bit of a different type of meat that we put in, and it's really good. You should try that. And
All right.
also a more
Mhm.
traditional one, you should try something called silotka. I don't know what it is in English, but it's like type of fish. It's very popular in Netherlands too.
Okay.
But yeah, people eat it. I never had. I never liked it, but you should try it for
Let's see.
experience, not for pleasure.
Let's see. I think it'll be hard for me to go ahead with that.
Yeah. Once you go to Russia, give me a shout. I send you a list of foods to eat.
100%. The moment I go to Russia, I'll exactly ping you and I'll say, Paulina, I'm here in Russia. What is the next step I need to do from here?
Yeah, you should. I'll find you some of my Russian friends who are still there, so that can take you around.
Surely, surely. I would love to, meet them and, tag along.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Uh,
should.
Yeah. All right then, Paulina. So, Since you're based in London, what are the three restaurants that you say that are the best? Like, what are the three restaurants that you rate in the top three?
Oh God. There is a restaurant that is called Flatiron. They do an amazing steak. There is a restaurant in Canary Wharf. It's called Roy. They have I think it's like Mediterranean cuisine, but whatever I tried there has always been good. I don't know how they do it, but like some
Magical.
restaurants, they clearly have a speciality. Like they either do like really good meat or really good fish. That
Yep.
one, whatever you try there, is amazing. And I'm not gonna give a restaurant, but I'm gonna give a place. In Waitrose, they sell sushi, and that sushi, like, it's probably not all the best. I'm traveling to Japan, so I'm about to re-listen to this episode and completely disagree with myself. But those sushi for lunch, if you're too tired of like going anywhere proper, amazing, love it.
Sushi, right?
If any,
Okay.
if someone didn't try it, I think it's called like dragon with salmon or something like that.
Mhm.
Highly recommend.
Okay. I'll take this thing in consideration then.
Yeah, you should.
All right. Perfect. Perfect then. I mean, so Polina, since you're Russian, what is that famous Russian word that you always, use, or let's say, that is always there in your day-to-day life? The famous Russian word of Polina.
But we're not allowed to swear, right? So we're not going to.
No ways, not at all.
Let me pick a different word. I think the word that I'm about to choose is it's either kisa or zайчик, which is equivalent of like here in the UK we use something like love or darling or like this like sweet form of calling someone. But in Russia, if you directly translate it, it's like you basically saying cat and rabbit.
Okay, it's
So,
highway.
so calling like in Russian language, if you call someone like some sort of an animal, like maybe a bear or well, even a dog, like you can make it sound like really cute. Like if you call someone by a name
Seriously?
of an animal, yeah, it's like a cute thing. But yeah, so зайчик is like,
Zaichik,
oh,
okay.
baby, yeah. Oh, you did it so well. Say it again, зайчик.
Zaichik.
Yeah, that is really, really good. Yeah.
I am practicing a lot, when it comes to slangs, since I see a lot of football and all those players' names are different. So I try, on my hand to, at least understand the name of the players and pronounce it well. So that's my pronunciation take.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah. So yeah. So the last two questions to you, Paulina. So what is your favorite movie franchise of all time?
Movie franchise. So does it have to be like series then? Or can I
Uh,
just name a movie?
you can name a movie or a movie franchise, anything. Yeah.
I think my favorite movie is something called Intern. It's a story about
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's an amazing showcase of woman leadership, different of ages, how you need to be accepting what it is to build your own business. I think that movie is brilliant and it's a comedy, but it's a comedy where you laugh, you cry, and you learn something. I think it's
Yeah.
amazing. I have rewatched it so many times and
Yes.
it just
Yes.
never fails to deliver whatever stage of your life you're watching it at. So if someone hasn't watched it, go watch it.
I've
If
watched it a couple of
someone has,
times and I love it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, or rewatch it. It's brilliant. I love it.
That's a very nice movie, and it's a very feel-good movie, and I love to watch it again and
Yeah,
again when it comes on
yeah,
television.
yeah. It's like the movie that makes you feel like a little bit at home.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
right. Absolutely right. So the final question to you, Paulina, like what are the three top songs in your Spotify playlist, or let's say any playlist for that matter?
Oh my God. You know how we have like the like how Spotify does like your year wrap up?
Yeah.
I think they
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
released it.
Of course, of course. I have my wrap up as well, but it's all Indian. So I mean, it's a bit you would not relate to that.
No, I don't think so. Oh, where did I find it? Give me a sec. Tu-tu. There we go. Oh, oh, I listen to such bad songs. Oh, it's
Okay.
gonna be so embarrassing.
No, no worries. Everyone has
There
their
we go.
own preference. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So my top three songs, and let
Okay.
me take off the blur, and then I can show it to you guys that I'm not lying. I
Uh-huh.
am telling the truth. My top three songs are, one is called Ivory.
Hmm.
It's by Olaine. It's a Russian song. It's amazing. The other one is called Jealousy. It's by Cahill Harrison. The other one is called It's Not Right, but It's Okay by um, Whitney Houston. Okay, let me put them.
Oh, okay.
I won't switch them on because obviously, copyright.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I will just. Oh, I can't do it for some reason. Hold on. I can change you the screenshot and then you can put it on. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course.
they are amazing songs. I'm not as embarrassed as I thought I would be.
There's nothing to
Thought
be
it's gonna be
embarrassed
like
about. Everyone has their own musical preference, and I totally
no,
respect that.
but no, but some people are like, oh, we only listen to like hard rock, or like we only listen to rap, or we only listen to like classical music. I feel like I don't fit into any of these categories. I listen to kind of whatever I find, like I find like whatever I fancy, and I feel like people like, oh, you got no music taste, but it's okay. I'm not embarrassed about it. I'm embracing the diversity. There you go.
That's an amazing musical taste, Polina. So yeah, Polina. So finally, thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule and being part of my podcast initiative. It was such a lovely conversation today. Going through different spheres of tech, and even going a little bit different. A semi tech kind of a thing. Going into law, talking about the tax analytics, and then I just the most thing that actually opened my eyes, or let's say blew me away, was your stint at a debate mate, and about your stint even at CHR Hansen. So these things, actually struck a chord with me, and I just enjoyed every conversation that we had. So thank you once again, Paulina.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting and thanks for taking your time to do this. And I wish you all the best of this initiative. And I cannot imagine where it's going to take you.
Thank you so much, Paulina. That actually, made my day, and it gave me that huge confidence that it's going to be much more bigger, and
You
as it
should.
comes in.
And I'm sure it will be.
Thank you so much, Paulina, once again. Yeah. All right, listeners. So on this note, this is your host, Akhil Navluri, signing off. We would be back with another podcast episode with another industry leader very soon. Till then, goodbye. Stay tuned. Thank you and au revoir. Thank you.